So in my life, I always use my life, my external world, as a mirror, as a feedback. So this is where it helps you to understand who you really are. You know, know thyself. Know thyself is just observe your external reality. Observe what you see in the mirror. Observe what life is bringing you, what you manifest into your life, what you're attracting. Because it's going to give you all the information and all the knowledge you need about yourself. Hello everyone, this is Kevlan, and in this video I want to talk about the holographic nature of our reality. I've talked a little bit about that in the past and I provided some examples, and I really think it's one of the deepest knowledge that was missed or that was not taught, because this knowledge, or seeing the world or seeing this reality from that lens, is really transformative, because we can get so much empowered when we realize that this world we live in is just a simulation, or it's just a hologram. And to explain it to you, I really want to go or take you to an experiment. It's a very simple experiment. You don't have to be a scientist to understand this. I'm just going to take you to this experiment to kind of show you what I mean by holographic reality, or what I mean by hologram. So this experiment, just imagine that you have 3 pebbles. So you're holding in your hand 3 pebbles. It doesn't matter the size they have, or they're small or big, or it doesn't matter. But just think about those 3 pebbles. You're holding 3 pebbles. And then underneath, you have a container with a little bit of water, like just a shot of water, just enough to drop the pebble in the water. So just imagine you have those 3 pebbles, and then you have a container with a little bit of water. So similar to if you were just throwing rocks in the river, you will see these ripples. So now imagine you're just dropping the pebbles at the same time in this container of water that you have. As soon as the pebbles will reach the water, the surface of the water, is going to create ripples. It's very similar to every time you drop something or throw something in the water, you see this ripple effect, that when the object is reaching the surface of the water, it's just going to create this. So same thing, you have those 3 pebbles, you drop them into the water, it's going to create those ripples, which depend on the shape, and the shape really depends on the size of the pebbles, depend on the weight, depend on the geometry. So there's many different different characteristics that will affect, or properties that would affect the ripples on the water. So just visualize that you're dropping the pebbles will reach the surface of the water, it's going to create ripples on the water. Now just imagine that you have a technology that you can use, and you can just fast freeze the water super fast, like super quickly, and you can freeze the water with the ripples in it. So, just imagine you're able to do this. Now you're going to have a nice, surface, but with a little bump, which is going to be the ripples, and everything got frozen. So now you have this container with ice and little bump representing the ripples that when you drop the pebbles. So now imagine you have a laser. Those technology you can have, and have big laser, and it's just going to create this coherent light. You can point to something or someone. So just imagine you have this big laser technology, and you can point out the light from the laser to that ice, to the surface of the ice with a little bump. So what you're going to see when you do this, so you have this big laser, and you're just going to point it out towards the ice with the ripple, with the frozen ripples. So what you're going to see on the other side of the container, or the ice, what you're going to see is you're going to see 3 holograms of the pebbles you dropped in the water. And they're going to be the exact same form, the 3D form or geometry of the pebbles that you hold, that you held and you had and you dropped in the water. So you're going to see the exact same hologram, the 3D shape of the 3 pebbles you dropped in the water. So it's just going to be on the other side of the ice, where the light is just going towards. So that's what I mean by a hologram. So it means the information about the actual geometry, the actual size of the pebble is contained in the water. So when you drop that pebble and create the ripples are just containing all the information of that pebble that just touched the water. And when you have a light, a coherent light, you can create a hologram of that information that is held on the surface of the water that you can see with creating this ripple, and you're gonna create this hologram. So that's what I mean by a hologram or holographic reality. So why is it relevant to us? Why did I, went through this experiment, and how is it related to the world we live in? This is the exact same thing. So the ripples you created by dropping pebbles in the water is a field of information, a field of energy that exists beyond space and time. For thousands of years, they've always mentioned this field of energy that exists beyond space and time, and everything is energy. Even quantum physics now state that everything is energy, and energy is everything. So there is this energy that we cannot see and perceive, because the senses that we have only can detect a very tiny portion of an energy field, where the frequency of the energy field is in a visible light spectrum. So everything that is outside of this spectrum, we cannot perceive it. Nonetheless, there is this big energy field that is basically creating everything we see. And the laser I was explaining in that experiment is basically the visible light. We live in a world, this 3D reality is just made up of light. Everything is light. That's why, even in a Genesis, in the Bible, they say, let there be light. It's because our world is just made up of light. We live, that's the threshold of the 3D reality we live in. So everything is light. So as soon as this light is reaching these ripples that we call our energy field, our consciousness, is gonna create a holographic expression of this energy field that exists beyond space and time in this 3D, or in this visible light spectrum, in this 3D reality. So in simple terms, it means everything you see and perceive in this 3D reality is just made of, or is just the source of this world is just an energy field. It's just a ripple that exists beyond space and time. And when light is actually touching this ripple, is going to create holograms. So everything you see and perceive are just holograms of this ripple, of this energy field, of this field of information that exists outside of our realm, outside of our five senses. And to me, it's so empowering because, first of all, it means we're not the body. The body is just the visible part of this field of information, of this field of energy I was mentioning. So we are not the body. The body is just an expression, a visible expression, or holographic expression of our field of information. So we are this field of information. We are this consciousness. When the body disappears, this field of consciousness, this field of information still exists as an independent property of the body. So that really helps to not really be afraid of death anymore, because death is just an illusion. It's just, it's just not having this visible part of us, but nonetheless, will still exist, because that's just a hologram of what we really are. That's there's nothing else. So that's the first thing. And then I have people say, okay, let's say we're not the body, we are this ripple as you described in that experiment. So if we are the ripple, how can we change the ripple to change the holographic expression of it? Because again, as I was saying before, the ripple has a very specific, when we drop those pebbles in the water, is going to create very specific patterns, very specific ripples with very specific patterns. If I had another pebble with a different size, it will create a different type of ripples with different patterns, maybe bigger ripples, maybe different type of geometry, different patterns, because the patterns you see on the surface of the water really depends on the actual pebble. So it means your ripple you're creating is different from mine. And if you can change the ripple, you will change the hologram. Because if I'm able to create something on the water, like some sort of a ripple, and use a laser, I'm going to create a different hologram, a different thing. So now the question is, if it's just a hologram, if matter, as we call it, because to me there's no matter, but let's say we call it matter, if it's just a hologram, how can we change that ripple so that we can change matter? So the ripple is basically our state of being, is basically the field of information we hold, all the information we carry within us. Your state of thinking, your state of feeling, which is basically your state of being. So based on your state of being, so if you're able to change your state of being, you're going to be able to change the ripple. And as a consequence of that, you're going to be able to change your the physical expression of that ripple. When the ripple changes, the physical expression changes. And that's the reason why some people, and there is many stories when you go to retreat, and I'm sure you've heard of Joe Dispenza, and I've been to a retreat, it's absolutely phenomenal. And there is people are just telling spontaneous remission, they had stage 4 cancer, and then they went to this retreat and they were able to change the state of being. So they were able to change the ripple, that field of information that exists beyond space and time. And when you change this, you change your hologram. So you change your physical body, basically, or the physical expression of this field of energy. And that's why someone can just go and walk in as a stage 4 cancer patient and then leave as a healthy being. And when I say live as a healthy being, it's just not, oh, I think I'm healthy. No, they know, and they change their state of being. And by changing their state of being, they are changing the ripple, the information, and then they are changing the expression of that, which is the physical body. So that's how we can change matter, is by changing our state of being, by changing what we are, who we are. So that's really empowering, because now we realize that nothing is impossible. If you don't like something into your life, you can actually change it. And I'm not saying it's an easy process, because this is not something we've been trained to do. This is not something we've been taught to do. So it requires a lot of effort, a lot of work, a lot of shedding and removing all, and learning and relearning, and the conditioning, changing your mindset, and healing obviously all those traumas, emotional, that keeps you in the loop of this state of being, or triggering loop. So it requires a lot of work, but this work allows us to actually impact the hologram, to actually impact matter, or this physical external reality, by changing our internal state. So that's why, to me, it's so important to understand that concept, because not only you're not going to fear death anymore, because death is not what it is. It's just an illusion. We don't really die. But also, you're going to be much more empowered to change your life, because now you're going to understand that your internal state is a projection, or I should say the opposite. The external state is a projection of internal state. If you change your state of being, you change the ripple. By consequence, as a consequence, you're going to change the external world. You're going to change the hologram. The other thing that is very empowering is now you see the external world as a mirror, because the external world is just a hologram. So when you see something on the hologram that you don't like, you're like, okay, this is showing me that there's still something that is holding me back, or there is still something that is unconscious that I need to change if I really want to change the expression or the reflection in the mirror. Because I always say, I talk about this hologram, but this hologram is giving us feedback of our internal state, because the internal state, again, is just what is real, and then the external is just a projection of the internal state. So as a result of this, if you don't like something externally, if you don't like something in your life, if you don't like an experience you're going through, if you don't like the people you're attracting into your life, the experiences, the event you're attracting into your life, if you just keep repeating those same patterns and again and again and again, these are just feedback showing you that there is still something in your inner state, in your field of information you're carrying, that you need to change. There is still something in the ripple, creating this ripple, that I keep attracting and manifesting the same thing over and over and over again. So in my life, I always use my life, my external world, as a mirror, as a feedback. So this is where it helps you to understand who you really are. You know, not thyself. Not thyself is just observe your external reality. Observe what you see in the mirror. Observe what life is bringing you, what you manifest into your life, what you're attracting. Because it's going to give you all the information and all the knowledge you need about yourself. So in that sense, it's very empowering because now you're the one in control. If you don't like something outside of you, it's just a message, a feedback showing you, okay, there is still something that is holding me back. You know, I cannot manifest or attract this type of outcome that I truly desire. Why? Because there is still something in the unconscious part of who I am, because again, this field of information we're talking about is twofold. There's the conscious part of who you are, which is usually 5%, and the unconscious part of who you are, which is 95%. So that's why many times we don't even know what information we carry in our field. But the best way to know is to observe your life, is to see what you attract. It's to see what you manifest. It's to see where you struggle. It's to see what patterns keeps repeating into your life. And then based on that, you'll be able to change yourself, to work on yourself, to change that ripple, that information you carry so that you can attract and manifest something different. So that's, again, really the empowering part of this knowledge that I really think people should dive in. I really think that people should be looking into it instead of being focused on, you know, being a victim of circumstances and seeing yourself as just this avatar and nothing else. Because now you start living your life as a watcher, you start living your life as the observer and not the actual actor that is living this story that we've been taught to believe. We're not the story. We are the watcher, we are the observer. And by being the observer, you're going to be starting to really know yourself. And that's all it is about. It's about knowing yourself. That's all it is about. Knowing yourself and being true to yourself. But how can you be true to yourself if you don't know yourself? So that's how where it starts. Start to being the observer, start to know yourself so that then you can be true to yourself and align your truth and speak your truth. That's what matters. We're not here to be perfect. We're here to be true to ourselves. If it's a no to yourself, then you should not do it. It should not be a yes. So I just wanted to share that again with you because it has really helped me see the world from a different perspective and really empower me really deeply and dearly, and this which has helped me to go through my inner own transformation journey and start knowing myself more and more and start changing the patterns, whether they are ancestral patterns, lineage patterns, childhood conditioning, traumas, and start doing this healing. And it's the hardest part that you're going to do, that the most difficult phase or journey you're going to probably walk in, but it's the most rewarding because once you start to know yourself, once you start to really connect with your natural state of being, which is peace, love, freedom, abundance, serenity, and so on and so forth. That's your true nature. That's our true nature. That's our natural state of being. And you start removing all the distortion that we have, all these, parasites and all these statics that we've created in a signal because we've been told the story and we've believed in that story. Whether it's through education, religion, parents, society at large. And we can just shed all of this to reconnect with who we are, this nature, this inner joy. Because that's our natural state of being. When we start touching it, when we start feeling it. And all the work, all the journey I went through, and I like to say I went through hell, because hell and heaven are just state of minds. They are not real places that you're going to go once you die. They are just state of mind. They are just the true nature, the true side of the coins, the true the polarities that is creating this world. They are just coming from the point of oneness, hell and heaven, both. But we need to integrate hell and heaven together so that we can be the center, we can be the neutral point, we can be source direct. We can connect with that singularity again and become that Christ consciousness again. So that's what I wanted to share today again. If you have any questions about what I've explained, or if you want me to dive deeper into a certain concept, please leave a comment down below, and I'll be happy to talk about or to explain or share my perspective on certain questions you may have or things you want me to share more or go deeper. If you want to understand a little bit more as a science, whether it's about the quantum physics, the holographic nature of reality, or our own nature and energy field, and so much more, sacred geometry and cymatics, and I dive deeper in like the energy field and the nature of disease and epigenetics and so many different topics. But once again, they all have in common is to empower you. I invite you to check out my book on Amazon, The Science of Breaking Free. Again, you can find the link down below in the description. If you like this video, please share it with your friends and family. If you know anybody that can benefit from these contents, or anybody that need to hear that message so that they can start to see the world differently, they can start to see themselves differently, and they can start to transform from the inside out and start to reconnect with their own truth, please share the content, share this video and the content with your friends. The more it can be spread, I think the more it can be visible, the more it can help people, and the more the world can change from the inside out. So like this video, smash the like button. Again, more likes means more visibility into the algorithm. So this is something you really appreciate. I would be very happy if you could do that. In the meantime, I will see you in the next one.